This particular post, courtesy of Stay Grounded, features Slawn, the contemporary artist who's blowing up here in the UK, doing big things with his sort of like gollywog um, paintings, illustrations. I'm sure some of you have seen. The caption says the follows: Slawn goes off on people at Paris Fashion Week. Who he talking about? So the caption or the picture here, courtesy of Stay Grounded, features Slawn in bed holding money, stacks of money to his ear like a money phone. It looks like American dollars. And the caption says, everyone in Paris sucking penis again. Every year I see y'all run to Paris to eat doo-doo nuggets and suck cock-a-doodle at Fashion Week. I get the sentiment, but I think this is super unfair. I think this is super, super, super unfair. Because just because you've had your fun, just because Paris Fashion Week doesn't do nothing for you anymore, just because you've taken as much as you can from it, you've given as much as you can from it, and maybe because in Slawn's level or at his point of his career, maybe Paris Fashion Week isn't as important as it was before. But for the people who still need to grow, still need to, whatever, it's still a great place to go and link and build. And this is coming from experience, and I can say that I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been on the fence where I went to Fashion Week one year and I had no contacts, no new one, and tried to move and shake, and it didn't really go too well, and I had a bit of a shit time, and I came away from it hating Paris, hating the scene. Then the following time that I went back there, God bless the dead, R.I.P. to Virgil, I went there by invitation of Off-White. I was actually there at the show where Off-White did that show where Ian Connor ran down the flipping, let me see if I can find it. Ian Connor ran down the runway holding Virgil Abloh's hand. That was actually one of the first ever, and the first and last actual runway show I've ever been to in my life. So that was pretty cool, and that was in Paris. So that was when I was working at a previous company where I had the fortune of working quite closely with Virgil on this kind of like course that we were doing, and I was invited out there to like just hang around, catch a vibe, link and build, shake some hands, kiss some babies and shit. And I had the ability to attend one of these fashion shows in Paris, and I have to be honest, for somebody that was a skeptic of like Paris Fashion Week and skeptic of shows in general, I had a fucking blast. Because when you get invited to these things via the invitation of a brand, that automatically plugs you in other things. Obviously, still, I'm a bit of a yapper myself anyway, so I also got plugged in by yapping away. But because I was there via the invitation of Virgil, I got plugged into other things that I probably wouldn't have got plugged into because I was there with those guys. So I went to like after parties, I went to like showrooms and shit, stuff that I probably had no business being at. I was there. Yes, this one I went to. Wow, is that long ago? Shit, that's how long ago it was. I went to the 2016 show. So I went to what? His second only runway show for Off-White ever. The first runway show was this one, which features, I think it featured the graffiti designers, right? Just 2016 ready to wear. And the second ever Off-White fashion show, which was fall 2016, that was the one I went to. I went to this one. Yeah, and I think there was the one, this I'm sure is the one that had Ian Connor, who was there, who I saw, and a few other people. And I think Ian Connor was running down this is also Ian Connor before the allegations, I think. Before the 31 allegations. He was there, and he was very close with Virgil at the time. I think they were still close towards the end, to be fair. I think a lot of people kind of distanced themselves from Ian Connor publicly, but I don't think they were doing it in private. But yeah, I was at this show where Ian Connor was. Yeah, there we go. There's that iconic picture of Virgil and Ian Connor. I was there during this particular show, actually, which is pretty crazy to think it was 2016 fall. 2016. It feels like just the other day, Time goes by so fucking quickly. Honestly, COVID robbed us of so much time. It feels like just the other day I was here. Yeah, I was standing to the left-hand side over here somewhere, minding my business. And yeah, seeing Ian Connor grabbing Virgil by the waist and running down the runway, celebrating him and shit. It was actually quite a good time. So anyway, that was my first and last fashion show I went to. And I have to be honest, man, I had a fucking blast. And I definitely understood when I went to this show why people give so much of a shit about Fashion Week. It was so fucking fun. It was so fun to be out there amongst fellow quote-unquote creatives, fellow people that are just as obsessed with fashion as I was, fellow nerds, fellow geeks, just fucking, wanking each other off about, I don't know, fall 2015 Saint Laurent and early Rick Owens and, whatever, what do you call it, Issey Miyake and shit. Stuff that you can't really talk to your other regular friends about. You get to talk about it with like strangers and people that you maybe look up to, people you want to connect with, people that might end up being like, you know, your friends in the future, people that might end up being collaborators of yours in the future. It's really motivating, really inspiring. And even if you don't want to go there and yap like I do, just watching people moving around, shaking babies and shit, moving around, sorry, kissing, shaking hands and kissing babies, it also inspires you to get on your shit. It also inspires you to kind of go back home and start taking more pictures, to more styling things, you know, making more art, writing more, whatever the thing that you need to do. So I really did enjoy it. It really did change my perspective on it. And if anything, it made it make sense to me why some people will go out of their way to just go to Fashion Week, even without a show invite, and just go there to catch a vibe. Because I've heard that be the thing. People just go to Paris during the Paris Fashion Week months. Maybe not menswear so much, but maybe the fact you have the main fashion one. But I think menswear is good if you're actually into streetwear and shit, because a lot of the people that are involved in streetwear, all the big wigs, all the, you know, kingmakers and gatekeepers and shit, they're usually out there, so you can kind of get a lot of good stuff from that as well. But people will just go there with no fashion show invite, no whatever, and just go and catch a vibe, and usually it works. Usually it does work to kind of, you know, help you get a certain way, introduce you to certain people, clarify what direction you're going in, blah 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 blah. So I feel like what Slawn is saying here, although I understand what Slawn is saying, I feel like this comes from a point of privilege. This comes from a point of excess. You know, he's laying there on his bed, wherever he is, with piles of money stacked in front of him, which he's earned through his quality of his hard work and his flipping, you know, work ethic and his flipping, you know, output and shit and his talent. But now people are out there still trying to grind, because some, you know, his rise has been quite meteoric in terms of how quickly it's happened. Obviously, he's probably grinding behind the scenes, but other people are still grinding. They haven't had the rise, they haven't had the luck, they haven't had the good fortune that he has had. So they still need to go out there and put it on, and kind of put on for themselves, and quote unquote, for lack of a better term, sell themselves. And I don't think it's a bad thing. And we don't actually have anything else. Like, bread and butter's gone. Most of the main other streetwear showroom, showcases, event type of things don't exist anywhere. We don't have a complex con in Europe. So the only things that you can do to kind of get your name out there, you know, move and shake, link and build, is to go to Paris Fashion Week. That's the only thing you can do. Or just go to Fashion Weeks in general, outside of all the other things. But Paris Fashion Week is usually the best time to go, because a lot of industry people are there, and people that can actually help you, or people that can kind of point in the right direction, or people that you just get motivated from. So I think it's a good sentiment, but this comes from a place of excess, comes from a place of, you know, hey, I've made it now, close the door. I think if you want to go and have a good time, go. I think you should go there with an open mind, not go there with any type of level of expectation that you're going to get something from it. But if you go there with an open mind, you go there with a clean spirit, you go there trying to, if anything, trying to give more than you can take, most likely you're going to get something from it. Most likely you're going to get something from it, because like myself, I was a massive Paris Fashion Week skeptic, but I had a great time out there, man. Me and the people I've met, it really was incredibly motivating. And to be fair, most of the inspiration I got from there was just shutting up, which is hard for me because I'm a fucking yapper. But I really did get a lot from it, from just shutting up and seeing people that I see on the internet moving around, hearing people's conversations, being in rooms where certain panel discussions are taking place, blah 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 blah. All this sort of stuff was really important to see, and just to kind of, and maybe just to see in real life, because only we would see it on the internet, and maybe it doesn't hit the same. But it's also to see in real life how that lifestyle looks like, because a lot of the people that you'll see there are people that are accomplished, people that have kind of, you know, have sort of like, you know, got themselves up the ranks, got themselves up that ladder. So it's kind of cool to actually see what those people look like in real life, see how they move, see how they talk, see how they kind of communicate with people. It's really important to see that also, to kind of put in perspective what you're trying to do, maybe to put a battery in your back if your motivation is kind of low, maybe to kind of give it the push that you need to keep on going. All those things are important. So I don't think it's fair to say that everybody in Paris is sucking penis. I think some people are out there maybe doing that also, but also trying to kind of open the door for themselves, you know what I mean, and try and make it through and all that malarkey. But hey, when it comes to all that stuff, what do I do? Big up, who's that? Big up Alicia in the stream chat. Elaborate on selling yourself, because a lot of these people are just plain old groupies. Big up Alicia. I think selling yourself is just like, it's not being shy to talk about the stuff that you do. I think that's something that I realized when I was in New York. Something that I also struggle to do even till this day. But when I was in New York, one of the really inspiring things I remember seeing was hearing people be able to give everyone they met like a elevated pitch of who they are, like a quick little elevator pitch of like, yeah, my name is, hey, what's up, man? My name is Mark. Yeah, what do you do? Well, not be shy, not even try and leave things out. Yeah, well, at the moment, I'm working at a flipping co-working space as a flipping site manager, but I'm also running this magazine. I've also got this studio. I'm also part of this collective. I also DJ. I also do this. Like, they'll just list it quickly in 30 seconds. Whereas I feel like in the UK, specifically in London, we are very shy and very, oh, I'll let my work speak for itself. Sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes letting your work speak for itself is not enough. Sometimes you have to be very bold, very loud about the things that you do. Obviously, don't put out there stuff that you don't do. I think there is sometimes a utility to lying. It can help you get your foot in the door. But I personally think like the time for lying has gone. Nowadays, there's too much resources. You've got AI, you've got PDFs, you've got CAD files, you've got numerous amounts of YouTube videos. Everything you need to learn, you can learn it and you can figure it out. So the time for lying is kind of gone. All the effort you put into lying, you could be put into actually doing the work. And there's kids out here who are fucking, if there's kids out here who are 17, designing entire tech packs, entire lookbooks, putting together magazines, putting together shoots, putting together pilots and short movies and shit, you don't really have any point to lie. So I would say the way to come across confident is to probably, I would say, be very bold about what you do and not be afraid to share it and not be afraid to talk about it when you're in those type of rooms. And actually go out of your way to introduce yourself to certain people. Do the research before you go to an event or before you go to a thing and figure out who roughly will be there, which is kind of easy to do via Instagram. You can check back at an event, check back at a flipping collection, check back at just Paris Fashion Week coverage in general, see some slideshow pictures from Phil O on Vogue.com and figure out who usually kind of goes there, get background information on what they're about. So if you ever bump into them, you have a question. And the one thing I remember doing, have in mind maybe a couple of questions in your head that you would like to ask somebody that you look up to. And if you see them in real life, why not introduce yourself and say, hey, what's up? I'm a big fan, and ask a question. All that stuff is really important, but I think the most important thing is to do the work and talk about the work that you do. Why not? You put a lot of work into it, you put a lot of effort into it, you put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it. Why do you just keep it to yourself? Why wouldn't you be, kind of boasting about it, speaking about it with your full chest? So do the work first and then speak about it to everybody that would listen. Speak about it, because that's something that I noticed with people that I saw out there. They were not shy to say, yeah, currently working on a shoot. Or actually, I'm working on a shoot idea. It's about, this, it's about that, it's about this, it's about that. I think you might be able to help. Could you put me in touch with this person? And again, this is something that I really struggle with because I don't really talk about myself in that way either. But from people that I saw that were killing it, that's what they were doing. So if you want to kill it, copy what people do when they kill it. That's what I would say. But I don't really know much because I'm still doing my thing as well. Big up Fashion Roadman as well. Paris Fashion Week is a very good example. I can give an example. Yeah, wicked. This is good information here. Big up Fashion Roadman because he's super, super, super plugged in. More so than I am in every particular way. So he'll know way more than I would. So let's see what it says here. I went to Milan Fashion Week once and I met these Italian journalists. I told them about some of my writing. Then the next day, they needed an English-speaking writer to cover the Moncler show. I was there with Pharrell, Future, Michelle Lamy, etc. This is what happens when you sell yourself at Fashion Week. Bingo. Bingo, 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 bingo. You heard that last bit? If you're not listening, did you hear that last bit the Fashion Roadman says? I was there with Pharrell, Future, Michelle Lamy, etc. This is what happens when you sell yourself at Fashion Week. Exactly. And as well, money included too. Big up Fashion Roadman, money included too. And I got paid 4K for it too. Bingo. Don't get me wrong, the money is great, that's just a bonus. But I think the main thing here is the fact that he went there, opened his mouth, spoke about the things that he does with confidence, with pride. Other people felt the passion, other people felt the flipping pride, other people felt the energy. And they're like, oh shit, what's weird? What a weird coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences, but what a weird coincidence. You just popped up in our radar. You speak about the things that you like, which align with what we like. You also do something that we don't have, which is speaking English. Suddenly here you are working with them. That's how easy it is. But if you don't open your mouth, if you stand at the side like I used to do, be too cool for school, if you start building up these narratives and these storylines in your head about who likes you, who doesn't like you, and you're all shy and timid, it's not going to work. You can keep all that shy and timid shit for your family and for other people or other situations you're not comfortable in. But when it comes to chasing your dreams and chasing the things that you actually want to do as a full-time gig, forget the shyness thing. Do away with the shyness thing. Chuck that shit in the bin and put your best foot forward, because people are waiting to give you an opportunity, waiting to give someone an opportunity, because everybody wants, especially in fashion, everyone wants to be that person that kind of puts somebody on. They're waiting, they're begging for someone to come through and give them opportunity to kind of spread some of the love, spread some of the contacts, spread some of the connects, spread some of the codes. Give them an excuse. Talk about the shit that you're doing and see where that goes. But as well, it's like it's a weird balance. Go with no expectation, but also somebody to ask you something, or if you see somebody you can talk to, be quick to kind of talk about yourself. Don't be shy about it. So it's a mixture of both. Don't expect nothing, but also don't be shy about talking about stuff that you do. Especially if you spend time and effort and money doing it, why would you just keep it yourself? You're not going to get anywhere doing that, are you? This particular situation, again, featuring Slawn, which features this particular artwork being sold to the one and only Kim Kardashian. Kim Kardashian buys Central Cee's and artist Ola Lu Swan's joint painting. I think it's Ola Lua. Is it Ola Lualu? Ola Lualu? I don't know how you pronounce that. Is it Ola Lualu? Or let's just call him Slawn. Joint painting put together. The caption says, "Congratulations goes out to Central Cee and Slawn. This pair's joint painting has been bought by Kim Kardashian, who proudly displayed it in her Calabasas home." So I've heard this is a big thing happening now with a lot of like super rich people. They're starting to get super into buying art. I know that particularly because I'm into startup people and stuff and those type of rich guys. So I know people like Mark Andreessen, who's not the most stylish, fashion, culture-based guy, but someone that runs the fund A16Z, and he's very popular within the startup world, and he's starting to get into a lot of art. He's starting to buy a lot of contemporary artists that I'm kind of fans of and have followed in the past and shit. And that's becoming a thing now to sort of, you know, essentially, you know, secure your fucking finances and basically build up your portfolio. It's to buy loads of pieces of art from up and coming artists, especially ones who are on the rise, like a guy like Slawn. This particular piece allegedly was done in collaboration with Central Cee. I personally see what this guy does, and I'm very impressed because, objectively speaking, just from a pure subjective taste level thing, I think his paintings are incredibly ugly. Like, I'm sure that's done on purpose because of the whole gollywog thing, because of how he self-identifies, and whatever else it may be about how he looks and shit, and his insecurities. But I find the paintings to be incredibly ugly. Really, really ugly to look at. Not that every painting that goes up in your house has to look good, but I just find that even the application of the paint on the canvas to be very like infantile and shit, and blotchy and all over the place. Like it just feels like a bit of a mess, you know, a bit of a freestyle mess, which might be part of why it's become so successful. But it is pretty cool to see that his celebrity and his kind of fame has even got to a level where a woman like Kim is kind of tapped in. Now, most likely she's not the one tapped into him, you'd imagine. Maybe there's some sort of person that works in the team who's plugged into stuff in culture and be like, yeah, this is the person to invest in. But either way, the fact that she's got it in her house is fucking sick. And this is the painting, as you can see there. You've got another painting. So she's got two paintings, looks like, courtesy of Slawn. She's got one that looks more airbrushed with some spray paint on it, I think. And the other one looks like it's done more in color. And there's a time-lapse video that features Central Cee and Slawn painting the actual painting in his studio, which I think is pretty cool. He shows this all the ways behind the scenes stuff of how he builds his canvases, how he paints and stuff, how he puts his pieces together. I love that he does that on his social media and plugs people into the process, essentially showing people that it's not that hard to basically make, you know, thousands, if not millions of dollars painting these really grotesque and horrible figurines on canvases and selling them to people. And he's also, if anything, filling a niche of that person, that kind of rock star painter, artist person who usually exists within every sort of like, you know, subculture and scene, especially in a major city like London. There's always one person that kind of captures the zeitgeist, and he's the guy at the moment. So it's good to see. Big up Fashion Road, man. The correct pronunciation is Oluwalu. Oh wow, I didn't even know that. It's O. So that O is like an R. It's Oluwalu Slawn. Wowzers! I would never have guessed that. I would never have guessed it was Luau and not Lao. So it's Oluwalu Slawn. Okay, big up Fashion Road, man. Appreciate you. But yeah, man. Kim Kardashian's out here buying bits from him, and I'm just wondering. My thoughts and feelings go out to that girl who I covered here last time, who was like very annoyed about Sloan's success and pissed off that he was getting all this hype, getting all this love and attention. I wonder how she feels, because if it was me and I was a professional artist or contemporary artist, I would see what Sloan's doing as motivation that I can do it too. I wouldn't be sniping at him. Do you know what I mean? I would say, hey, if he can do it with these like really ugly paintings that look very amateurish and very kind of, slapdash and grotesque, then also I can do it. He's got his lane. And if I'm doing beautiful paintings, if I'm doing more photorealistic paintings, there is no overlap in terms of our customer base, fan base, viewers, whatever it may be. There is no overlap. I don't see why you'd be pissed off and annoyed by it. You should just see it as more as motivation that there's clearly money out there to be made. There's clearly people here that are, eager to buy some stuff. So why don't I create more? That's what I would do. That's what I honestly would love to do. But I also understand from her. I also understand sometimes the hate that comes from that sort of scene, because unfortunately in life, as we've seen in most professions, or in most professions actually, especially in culture, the person at the top gets everything. I think there's a law around it. I forgot the saying. There's a law around it, but those who have more get more. It's not like it's not like it gets spread down. It's up to the people at the top to kind of trickle it down and spread it around people who are underneath them. But for the most part, the ones who have everything get everything. So sometimes it can be really frustrating when you're an up and coming artist. You feel like you haven't got a voice. You feel like no one's really listening to you. You feel like you're not getting the love and attention that you should be deserving to get. And the person just above you who's probably doing work that you feel like you could do with your eyes closed is absolutely killing it. Like absolutely killing it. Sloan's doing a collaboration with Rolex. He's doing shoes with Nike. He's got painting he's selling to Kim Kardashian. Like he's going up, 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 up. And it's only going to go further up. The more the older he gets, the more refined he gets with his process. The more he starts to dial in on his thing. Maybe evolves what he does. Starts to get into installation. Starts to get into fucking doing, sculptures and shit. This stuff's gonna go crazy. I think he designed the Brit Awards. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he might have designed the statue for the Brit Awards. You could see him later down the line designing Olympic medals, like FA Cups. I think he did the FA Cup design recently too. So it's only looking like it's going up like him, like a rocket ship. So I hope that girl, wherever she is okay. I hope that girl, wherever she is okay. Keep your head down, knuckle down, and hopefully things will work out for you too. Hopefully things will work out for you too.